Would USA Kilts / Kilts and Culture ever consider hosting a Highland Games or a Celtic Festival? And Lucas, thank you for the vote of confidence that's written into that question. But what goes into putting on a Celtic Festival, Rocky?
Sure. We actually did do, not a Highland Games, but we did do a Celtic Festival. Back when 2008, 9, 10, I think that kind of time frame, USA Kilts used to run a Celtic Festival at our previous location down in Phoenixville. It was an eye-opening experience, to say the least. It is much, much more complicated than most people think, running a festival. There are a lot of moving parts and a lot of things you don't think about that you have to get done. It's not just, build it and they will come. There's a lot to it. You have, first, starting with the township. You have to get the permit. Are you allowed to do it? Find a location for it. Figure out the parking situation for the location. You have to line up the vendors, get in contact with the vendors, line them up, figure out what those costs are going to be. You have to have insurance for the festival. If you do a Highland Games, like the actual events, that is going to be another level of insurance that you have to have. Then you deal with the music aspect of it. So you have bands, you have to deal with their contracts, their riders. You have to figure out the pricing of the bands and all that kind of stuff. You have to figure out the marketing to it. You have to figure out, sponsorship of it. When we did the festival, the Phoenixville Celtic Festival, as it was called, we partnered with a gent named Bill Reed, wonderful individual. He owns East of the Hebrides Entertainment. And he ended up doing the logistical part of the bands, of the vendors and that kind of stuff. And then we took on the mantle of the township, of the sponsorship, of those kind of things. And it was an ungodly amount of work for very, very little money. So my takeaway from all of it was, I'm glad I did it. And I'm glad we were able to do that for Phoenixville. I'm glad we were able to do it for the small businesses downtown in Phoenixville because they had a great day. I'm glad we were able to do it as a free festival for people to be able to come to and enjoy. It was a good experience, and we did it for 3 or 4 years. But it was a lot of work, a lot more than I originally thought it was going to be. So if I knew at the beginning what it was going to take to run the whole thing, I probably wouldn't have done it. But it was a labor of love. It is a passion project. You don't run festivals because, or volunteer for festival boards because you're trying to get rich. You do it because you love the culture. You do it because you want to have others experience the music, as well as the games, as well as the camaraderie, as well as the food, and all the different things that go into a successful festival. That is the reason you're doing it, is to bring other people joy and to bring other people that experience that they wouldn't otherwise have unless people like you, people like us, or whoever did the whole thing. But as I said, it is a lot of work. So ultimately, my lesson in all this, my pat on the back, is to the people who put on the festivals. When you go to a festival, there is a lot of work behind the scenes. There are a lot of volunteers, not paid people, volunteers to make it work. And so when you go to the festival, realize that it's not just the fun stuff that is the day, but the people who put it on. You have to appreciate them and their effort. I'll say sacrifice, because you're sacrificing your time with your family, with other hobbies. But it is all, in all of this stuff, it is a passion project. It is for the love of the culture. It is for pushing it forward more than a money-making exercise. And it's definitely a lot more involved than most people realize.
I think what that says to me is that I've always felt this kind of in my gut anyway, is that there's more heart in the small local festivals. We talked about this in the past about getting involved with volunteering, say with your clan society, or getting out to festivals, and we've been asked, what is the best big festival out there? What's a good one to go to? And my answer at the time was that you want to try and go to some of the big ones, but you also want to go to the small ones so that you kind of get a more face time with people and have a chance to make local connections with people. You don't know what kind of friendships you're going to find. You know what I mean? And I mentioned I think it's important to consider volunteering at these things. If you're a small vendor like a food truck guy, then yeah, these things can be really good for you. If you're a local business and it's a street fair, which I'm guessing the Phoenixville one was kind of a street fair vibe, that's all great. But the backbone is people just doing the grunt work behind the scenes, like at Celtic Classic, which is a huge festival near us, which we talk about a lot because we're big fans. They have a volunteer corps of kids who go around just picking up trash. You know, I mean, there's a lot of not romantic and not glamorous work that goes into making this stuff work.
The Clean Clan.
So.
They're dubbed
yeah.
the Clean Clan.
The Clean Clan, right. Yeah, they got the t-shirts and everything, yeah.
Even in the big festivals, there are a ton of volunteers. For Celtic Classic, Jane is the one who organizes the festival. She has an assistant under her who helps, coordinate things. But they have an entire board of directors who make sure all the finances are in order, who are all volunteers. And then they have an entire army of volunteers. I mean, like 75 to 100 people who volunteer time slots throughout the 3-day weekend to be able to do and before to set things up, because a huge event like that takes 3 or 4 days at least ahead of time for all logistics of putting up the tents and running the electric and all the other stuff. So there's even small ones, there's more responsibility, like more people wearing multiple hats. I'll agree with you that. And then for the larger festivals, it's just a lot. It's just bigger in scale. So a lot more people doing specialized jobs, but it's all, for the most part, volunteers, and it's not a profit-driven exercise. There's money involved, yes. There's money to be made, yes, but it's not money for profit. In the example of Celtic Classic, they sell beer, but they're doing that to offset other costs. They're doing that to offset a salary for an individual to run this thing full time, and an assistant for that person. So it's not like they're making millions of dollars, that they're just swimming in money at the end of the thing. They're doing it because they love it, and to cover the costs to be able to do it the next year, and to keep the whole thing moving forward.
Yeah. I would say it occurs to me that the profit motive is for the artisans who show up, for the small companies, like the people who are selling the Welsh cookies, and the people who are making kilts, and the guy who's selling the jewelry, or the guy who's selling the hand carved wooden signs with your family name on them. And I would argue that it's a service to them. We don't think about them as much, but they are another backbone of the community, really. I mean, because everybody wants to have some way of representing their heritage at home or on their person, so they're going to these festivals to shop. So if you go to one, go to shop, because you're supporting people whose business, their entire livelihood is based on being in a van half the year and going from festival to festival. And it's a hard way to make a living. I know people who do it. So I think that's a good thing about it. It's hard work for those who put it on, but it's also a service to the community in the sense that you're giving an opportunity for people to A, shop, and B, find customers, with selling something that they're passionate about. So that's kind of cool. What occurs to me then, to get back to the original point of the question, was, would USA Kilts ever do a festival? I could see us maybe helping support a volunteer group that did one someday. I don't see us being like a driving force behind a festival, like putting one on in our backyard. I don't see that happening.
I wouldn't want to try to do it again. I wouldn't want to try to recreate the whole thing. It takes... logistically, it takes too much of my time and effort to be able to do it and run a company full-time simultaneously. Right. Where I would feel more comfortable is in a supporting role, like we try to support Celtic Classic and everything they do. We do our own versions of supporting the culture, propping up the culture, pushing it forward through, buying everything from the UK, through shows like this, stuff like that. So we do our own thing.
Sure.
The festival isn't what we are good at. We would be an ancillary thing. Like we had talked about doing a KNC Live from Celtic Classic this past year, which didn't happen. But we could do things as a company to support the festivals and to, in a supporting role more than in a driving force kind of role. And I think that's where we'd be more comfortable. It's fun. I liked doing it, but it's not our destiny. Our destiny lies elsewhere.
Thanks for joining us for this. What do you think? What's the best festival you've ever gone to? What makes a good festival? If you want to know more about volunteering at festivals, check out this video over here about somebody who really did it. And if you want to know about what it's like to go to a festival, check out this video down here.